At 8:46, let's join John Duggan this morning. John, how are you?
Darren Owen, good morning.
So the only story in town at the moment, of course, is Gordon Elliott sitting on the dead horse, the photograph being taken, being distributed, the response from him first, and then the revulsion from the rest of the world. And it's obviously gone beyond racing. The British horse racing authorities have banned him from having any runners in the UK, and we still await the outcome of the investigation at the moment. So what's your take? Where are we at the moment?
Well, just to give you some interesting breaking news here, Jack Chambers, the Minister of State for Sport, has been on News Talk saying that he was shocked, appalled and horrified by the Gordon Elliott photo. He says Elliott needs to be held fully accountable. Whatever the sanctions that should apply, and he would not be comfortable seeing Gordon Elliott at Cheltenham. Of course, Cheltenham, the biggest meeting in the sport, begins 2 weeks today. Gordon Elliott has got a lot of runners at that festival. Also a tweet now by the Irish Horse Racing Regulatory Board that they say they are aware of further social media content circulating and the matter is under investigation. So are there more things to come out in the world of racing that could be portraying the sport in a negative light? So this IHRB has to meet. There's a referrals committee going to meet probably by the end of this week to discuss what sanctions should be applied to Gordon Elliott, probably under a breach of Rule 272 relation to behaviour that is prejudicial to the integrity or good reputation of horse racing. As you say, Ger, he's banned now from running horses in the UK until that process has been completed by the Irish Horse Racing Regulatory Board. He has Tiger Roll going for a hat-trick of Aintree Grand Nationals. And this is a story now that has, as you say, not just become confined to Ireland, but it's become now spread across the British and world media. This is what Gordon Elliott had to say last night to the Racing Post. This was his statement. This is his damage limitation now. It's indefensible, whether alive or dead, the horse was entitled to dignity, a moment of madness that I'm going to have to spend the rest of my life paying for and my staff are suffering for. I'll be punished, I fully understand that, but it absolutely breaks my heart to read and hear people say I've no respect for horses. That couldn't be further from the truth. My whole life has revolved around these horses since I was a child. I know nothing else. Horses are all I have. I came from nothing and built a dream. When your world starts crumbling in front of you, it's a scary place to be. I just hope people can understand how truly sorry I am and find some way to forgive me for what I've done. My heart goes out to all my staff. I know how hard they work. I know that I've not only let them down, but I've let the whole racing industry down. My take, guys, is that Gordon Elliott failed in the duty of care to a horse. I've done a column for OTB Sports, and it's on the OTB Sports app, that he failed in the duty of care. Like, who sits on a dead horse? Why would you do that? To me, the image looked somewhat disturbing. I felt there was a sense of entitlement about the image. And Gordon Elliott, in that moment that he describes as a moment of madness, forgot that the horse has delivered him fame and fortune. The horse is the primary actor in all of this. The horse is not a secondary actor. And there is a perception out there that the horse is secondary. And in this photo, the horse was a prop. And that's why so many people were revolted by it. And it flies in the face, and it does a disservice to the thousands of jockeys, stable staff, owners, trainers, breeders that are involved in this game. 16,000 people are employed in Irish horse racing. We hear their stories every single Friday on Friday Night Racing. They love the animals. And that is why it is so disappointing, because racing is a minority sport that gets 76.8 million of taxpayers' money every year in this country, because we're seen as a leading light around the globe in terms of breeding and performance at festivals. It's something we've been very proud of. But horse racing in this country has had too many public relations own goals. This is the latest one, the Charles Burns negligence case, which he's going to serve a 6-month ban for a horse being drugged at Tremor. Whoever applied the drug is very bad. It looks very bad. The timing of this is terrible. 2 weeks before Cheltenham starts. Cheltenham, whether it was right or wrong, got the brunt of people's anger and fear at the beginning of the pandemic last year. And the Gordon Elliott situation is one that I just see as a lack of care for the animal in this instance. And the worry for him now, when the public rage dies down and when people move on to something else in terms of their focus, will big owners quietly slip away and go to other trainers? I know Gigginstown and Michael O'Leary are standing by him, but they're leaving the sport. And the worry for Gordon Elliott and all of his staff, and it's a considerable amount of staff, 80 staff, 200 horses in Meath, and a setup he's built from nothing himself, that their livelihoods could be jeopardised by his moment of madness. I don't believe in cancel culture. I loathe it. I do believe human beings can make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Gordon Elliott has made a terrible mistake. But I do think there needs to be a punishment. I do think he needs to serve a ban. And I do think...
So that's my question, John. You cited the law earlier on. It's essentially bringing the game into disrepute in the parlance of other sports. Is there a prescribed penalty for that, or is it completely open to...
I think it's open. I think it's open to judgment. I think Richard Forrestal said it last night that we probably would have been expecting a fine and a donation to an animal equine charity. And Gordon Elliott maintains that he treats his horses, very well. And the O'Learys would say that over 15 years he has. But I think that for rehabilitation to come, if people can make mistakes and then be rehabilitated and then have a future career and have a future in the sport as a trainer and be accepted that you can make a mistake and recover from it, there has to be a punishment which he understands that will come because what he did was indefensible and there was a lack of duty of care in my view. So I think that we're looking now because, especially the reaction in the UK, I was reading Bruff Scott this morning and you see Mick Fitzgerald in tears yesterday, and the fact that the BHA of their own have decided, we don't want to see Gordon Elliott's horses here until this investigation is complete. They can run under another name. They can be transferred to these horses like Enwo Allen to another stable, but they don't want to see this. And like Marcus Armitage, like the rage that is out there was writing about this yesterday, because especially in the UK with the Grand National and that with whips and all these kind of things, that racing has really had to fight very hard for its corner to convince people that this is a safe sport and that people care about the animals and they're primary, not secondary. And that's why the punishment has to be a lengthy ban, in my view, before Gordon Elliott can be rehabilitated. He should have known better. He's the second most successful trainer in the country. He's trained the winner of the Aintree Grand National 3 times. I don't know what he was doing. I really can't explain what he was doing.
And look, I don't think anybody can fully grasp what the point of that was. And, it's just impossible to know. The other thing there that they're aware of other stuff on social media. That'll be very interesting to see exactly what what emerges, because I think most people at this point will have seen some of the various WhatsApps doing the rounds, and again, you always have to be really careful with the stuff that arrives in your WhatsApp inbox with this has been forwarded many times, because you don't know the provenance of it. But like from a process perspective, what's going to happen very quickly is that the lawyers will start teasing out the language in the laws of horse racing and to see what the suitable punishment is going to be. In many ways, the IHRB would do well to negotiate an acceptable suspension here, because if you were to, just to play devil's advocate from the legal perspective for a second, like bringing the game into disrepute, the ban tends to be quite short, unless the big bans in football always came from going into the crowd, for example, and committing what in those acts would be a crime. It'll be very interesting to see what they can actually, through the rigors of the rule book, use for something like this, when in the past it looks like they haven't been able to punish people for quite serious things. So I don't know, I'm just not sure that I can see a situation emerging here where a ban is overturned on appeal, for example, or a ban is shorter than what the public currently demand and what the racing people demand. So it's a tricky situation for everybody to get the right amount of a ban so that everybody feels comfortable, and also the type of ban that a good lawyer is not going to go in and say, well, what's the basis for this? I have this case law and I have this case law and I have this case law, and your own rules say that you're not even allowed to ban him for this. So do you know what I mean?
I don't think there's a precedent for it, and that's why, it is a new it's a new situation which people are looking at and go, well, we haven't had this before, so how can we look at the past punishments and say, okay, well, he should get this, he should get that. The Charles Burns case, Charles Burns was found guilty of negligence around that horse at Tramore. He was not found guilty of administering anything. It was very, very legal in its outcome, and he got 6 months. I think, though, the bigger issue for Gordon Elliott, well, first of all, would he accept a ban, whatever the ban is? Would he contest it? Would he look worse for contesting it? The bigger issue, I think, for me, when I'm looking at this is Cheveley Park Stud came out and just on a Twitter post yesterday said how appalled they were, and they were waiting for the outcome of the investigation. These are the people with the big pockets that really could do damage for Gordon Elliott more than any ban by not sending money and horses to his organisation in Meath. And that is, him retaining those owners is the key for him to survive in the sport. And if they decide, you know what, we don't want to be associated with this type of behaviour, then he's in a really sticky situation.
All right, John, we'll leave it there. Good stuff. Thanks very much.
Okay, guys.